What's up, Kobe? What's up, Kobe? What's up? What's up, Kobe? Come here. What's up? Yeah, I'm working on. Yeah, this piece is gonna be hot. It already is hot, but yeah, this is. That's Ouroboros. Kobe, I need this seat. Come here, Kobe. Excuse me, Kobe. Sorry, puppy. Sorry, puppy. All right, come on. All right. Gotta get out of the sun. Oh, come here, Kobe. How you doing? All right. Mm. Yeah, so I'm carving Ouroboros, and actually maybe I'll carve pDAI now too. So I want to talk very briefly about this idea of a stablecoin supercycle. Like, why is that happening? Or why are people saying it's happening? And how does a human participate in that? Right? So the first thing to know is that the kind of stablecoin that I'm talking about is a fully on-chain stablecoin, like USDC and USDT and most of the commercial stablecoins that are being regulated now are the rails between off-chain and on-chain, right? So USDC is like all the regulation has people focus on proof of reserves and the payment rails. That's who's getting regulated. Proof of reserves, you got to prove that it's backed by something. And if if a stable is connected to payment, then it's going to have to subject itself to the regulations. The on-chain versions are the permissionless ones, are the ones where there's no central entity. And like USDX is a pure collateral-backed stablecoin. The only way to mint it is with a collateral asset. And so we'll see USDX scaling as Ouroboros scales the collateral assets, right? And so USDX is basically $1 worth of the collateral asset, right? And there's a whole redemption process in the Ouroboros protocol. I won't go into that right now because this is sort of a macro talk on the super cycle and two very different assets. One is USDX. It's a pure collateral-backed stablecoin incubated on TitanX with TitanX and DragonX, about to scale and about to adopt, actually about to deploy on new blockchain and with new collateral assets, right? And so we're going to see USDX and ORX scale, especially if not especially if it's as I complete that carving. This summer, I'm going to finish. I'm working on a bunch of different pieces at the same time, but those two are my pieces that I put here so that I could talk about them, and they're the crypto focused ones. I have non-crypto focused art too, but this is the crypto focused art. So that's USDX. It's not speculative. ORX, which is the fee sharing token attached to USDX, is a speculative asset. And so I hold both. I've minted the USDX and staked it in the backstop pool, and I'm farming vesting ORX token. That's my USDX play. And that's how I'm taking advantage of, and ORX is how I'm taking advantage of this meta narrative of stable coins. And the reason why stable coins are important is because, like, for payment rails, they need basically a digital equivalence of the fiat, right? But the fully on-chain versions, the permissionless ones, the ones that are censorship resistant, are ones like USDX and potentially pDAI, right? So pDAI, like USDX, I know exactly how it gets minted. I know how it basically oscillates around the $1, and it becomes a floating stable, right? And we know exactly, we can look under the hood and know exactly how it holds its peg, what's happening, how it gets minted. pDAI is the exact opposite. It's a fully speculative play, other than the power players that be. And I don't know if it's MakerDAO. I don't know if it's Richard Hart. I don't know if there are other players, centralized players. I believe there are. I think there are. If the pDAI to a dollar stablecoin narrative has some truth, and honestly, I have no idea. But if it has truth to it, then we'll see centralized entities working towards, maybe in coordination with decentralized efforts, working to get pDAI as a decentralized, permissionless, censorship-resistant stablecoin. Now, if it reaches that, I can imagine bridging. I'm seeing pDAI and other pulse chain assets starting to bridge over to Ethereum, just like we're starting to bridge over Ethereum assets to get access to the pulse chain market. There are pDAI and other P assets which we see are bridging over to Ethereum. So increasingly, this narrative of Ethereum and pulse chain as connected mirror chains with a bridge with assets that go, that's with the regulatory certainty that pulse chain has, especially after July 5th. On July 6th, there will be absolute regulatory certainty here in the US. And that means free flow of capital. It means the ability to promote, which is why we start to see Richard Hart starting to talk about whatever one thinks about the veiled messages and the hints and the, Richard Hart, who's the founder and builder of Pulse Chain and PulseX and Hex and Inc token, is definitely talking about marketing, and it's not a coincidence. So pDAI and Pulse Chain narrative are just heating up, right? And so what we see with pDAI, and I feel very fortunate because, yeah, Eros was airdropped to me, and it brought me back to Pulse Chain. I'm a Pulse Chain and Pulse as sacrificer. I left because I wasn't interested in the divided and conflicted. I knew that there was capital flight, and I thought, okay, I'll come back when there's regulatory certainty, which is what's happening now. So I was fortunate that I got gifted this Eros, and it got me thinking about, what do I want to pair the Eros with on Pulse Chain? And one of the people in our Eros workhorse crew is a big fan of pDAI and Atropa and Bear. And so am I. I was a very early stage Bear, Atropa, pDAI person. And I did sell most of it, mostly because I wasn't really highly convicted, and I, saw that Pulse Chain was going into a very bearish time, and so I felt like I would sell on the way up. But anyway, pDAI, I don't consider it a stable coin. If it becomes a stable coin, great. Right now, it's just a speculative play. And that's why I said, okay, in this stablecoin super cycle where there is a lot of capital flow into stable coins, a lot. There's going to be a lot of flow right now into Ethereum and then into the altcoin market. But stable coins are a powerful narrative because in a volatile world, in volatile assets, if there's a promise at least of a stable coin, people will find refuge in that stability. People who are experienced will find refuge and will stabilize the volatile gains. And if you know how to play either the Pendle game or other fee sharing protocols that give you stable yield, it's never, if there's yield with a stable, it's never going to be fully stable. There's going to have to be some risk attached to it. So yeah, so pDAI is about a 250x to get to $1. So for me, I bought pDAI, not a lot, a few $100s worth, I don't know, about 45 days ago. And it's probably up 5x since then, right? I think at the time they were saying it's a 300x to get to $1. Now it's a 250x. I don't know. Not sure. I didn't buy a lot, but I bought a little pDAI. I had a little bit left, but I bought a little bit more so that I could be part of the speculation game. I could root for pDAI to get to $1. I'm not attached to it, but I'm going to root for it. And I was looking for how do I what do I pair my Eros with? Because Eros is the fee sharing token in the LP web, right? That links Titanx and Pulse Chain. And because it's a community initiated project, no one tells me what to do. I have to decide for myself. And what that means is sometimes it's following other pools that other people set up, and sometimes it's me setting up a pool. In the case with Bear and pDAI and UFO, all I've had to do is to pair my UFO, my pDAI, and my Bear with my Eros because the pools were already set up, right? So with pDAI, it's 250x to $1, especially with all the, now it's very volatile. It really could go, it's gone almost to zero twice. It could go a third time unless there are centralized players really coordinating the, how it's going to peg to $1, and is it going to be a is it going to be an ARB fluctuation? I don't really know. I don't know. I don't even know about the minting and the supply. That's why for me, I don't understand the mechanics enough to even think about it as a stable coin. It's so not a stable coin. But right now it's a speculative play. And I just saw the crypto connoisseur said that, I think he said that pDAI is above the 21-day moving average or something like that. Anyway, crypto connoisseur is one of the TA people that I follow, particularly for Titanx and Pulse Chain assets. And boy, he's on point. And so what his read probably is, and it's not a surprise, pDAI is front running the bull run, right? This narrative, and it's not what I thought, it's what we thought collectively. It's why we started to, when I realized that we had Eros and could migrate Titanx value to pair in with Eros and connect with Pulse Chain, I was like, yes, because I wanted to get access to the bull run that I knew was coming once I realized there was going to be regulatory certainty for Pulse Chain. So for me, that was like as a analyst of the situation and the risk and the opportunity, once there's regulatory certainty, that's huge. It's huge for me. It's huge for capital. It's huge for anybody. People started calling me who had sacrificed and have followed this. I said, hey, does it matter? I'm like, hell yeah, it matters. Regulatory certainty for Pulse Chain and PulseX and Hex and Richard Hart is huge, right? And that becomes formalized on July 5th. And as of July 6th, I expect a slow and methodical migration of capital to Pulse Chain. I think we'll see blue chip assets like Aave, or at least forks of these blue chips, migrating over. And I don't know if we'll see, there's this thing called a hyperloop that the pDAI crew is using. Now maybe it's from the, from the insider intelligence about the mechanics to bring pDAI to $1. I haven't looked under the hood, but they're talking about a hyperloop, right? I don't know exactly what that is, but what I can imagine is some process to more quickly than not get pDAI connected to $1 somehow. I have no idea how this thing is going to work, but who's ever promoting it is promoting a narrative, is hinting at Binance, right? And I'm like, So this is all speculation. I have no idea, but as a speculative play, yes, for me it was worth, $300 that, I don't know, maybe it's worth $1,500 now. It's probably 5x or 3x what I bought it at. Right? So I'm I'm not one of these pDAI maxis at all because I don't understand it enough, but for a little speculative play, and also, you know, even if it's just a 40x from here in this next part of the bull cycle, that's great, right? That's amazing. Um, and the thing is that with price, it's all about speculation and more buyers than sellers. And right now, the technical indicators are suggesting that pDAI has like bottomed out again after all the FUD and all the this and all the selling and all the drama, right? Bottomed out. Now, not that it couldn't bottom out again, but it feels to me like there is energy wave that's backed by central players, owners of the chain, influencers on Pulse Chain who actually can influence and impact. And really, that's only the founder and his collaborators. And I don't really know him or them and what their plan is, but I do read Richard Hart's tweets. I don't really understand them. So I look for other people to, and I don't really follow him closely. It's not like I'm trying to understand what he's saying, but the meta narratives of we're about to do marketing, we won against the SEC, you know, don't be a whatever, right? He's just being him. He's a marketing guy, and the marketing machine is revving up. Whatever I or anyone else thinks about the strategy, which is more direct marketing, I'm like, bring it on. Any marketing, especially if there's something strong to market. There's also hints. So anyway, so pDAI is a speculative play. It's not a stable coin until it gets to that stable coin, but I like it as a speculative play. And I think it's going to keep on being talked about for months. I don't think it's going away. It may be very volatile, but I don't think it's going away. And I could see it. Um, I have no idea. I have no idea about the Hyperloop. I have no idea about the central players and what they're doing, but I could see it outperforming the market because it's such a rare story. And if it's true, I think we'll see over this summer more revealed. And if it's true that there is an intent to turn it into a permissionless, decentralized, censorship resistant stablecoin, that's huge. Yes, it will make relatively small numbers of people wealthy, and for the pDAI believers, that's going to be amazing because you all deserve it, right? I was someone that bought it. I didn't believe. I just wanted to see the chart. Even now, I don't know enough to believe, but I love that there are some hardcore believers and there are some hardcore haters. Yeah. So anyway. I think we're going to see a lot over the next 60 to 90 days. Um, yeah, and I think it's going to outperform. I think it's helping Pulse Chain. I mean, Pulse Chain itself maybe hasn't hit bottom. Like people that know more than I do say it could be a double bottom for Pulse Chain. That's possible. Or we could have hit the bottom. What's more important is that there's regulatory certainty and that there's momentum, and that there's a narrative instead of like the vacuum and the drama and the division prevailing on Pulse Chain, right? Instead of that, we fill that vacuum with positivity and the innovation and potentially even the tech upgrades, right? I wouldn't be surprised if there are tech upgrades associated with capital infusion and capital freedom. So, yeah. And so how am I getting access to this Stablecoin Supercycle? One is, and most importantly for me, is through ORX, Ouroboros. We're going to see scaling of USDX, which is a multi-collateral stablecoin. You're going to see more collaterals, right, over the next months, a lot more. That means more users, more total value locked, more fees, right? So that's how, and I think there's huge exponential growth potential for Ouroboros and USDX. And so the way that I capture that is buy or, actually hold Ouroboros, buy or vest Ouroboros, and eventually stake it. Because the ORX token is a fee sharing token that will take advantage of the scaling stablecoin supercycle, right? And I'm just saying supercycle because it's jargon, but people pay attention to it, and I believe it in that there's going to be a exponential growth in the value of on-chain stablecoins. Let's not talk about off-chain, on-chain. I'm talking fully permissionless, decentralized stablecoins like USDX and like pDAI if it gets there. So one way I'm taking advantage of it is, is with ORX and USDX, and the other way is by pairing my Eros in the Eros web with pDAI, because then I get exposure with my Eros, which is a Titanx index token, basically, because it's paired with a lot of Titanx tokens and some Pulse Chain tokens, right? So what I get to do is I get my Titanx exposure through Eros, and then I pair it with pDAI in an LP, and then they're bonded liquidity, and and so it's basically my Eros is leverage on Ethereum, Titanx, Pulse Chain, and pDAI, right? So that's how I get exposure through my Eros to the pDAI narrative, the speculation, not stablecoin, but the stablecoin super cycle. Now, if in fact, I mean, this would be crazy. Like some people are saying, oh, it's going to get to $1 fast. I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it, or I'll see it when I believe it, or something. I don't know. Like, I don't know. But some people say the Hyperloop is going to happen fast. I'm like, I have no idea. But if there were a strategy to expedite, pDAI, I could see it being bridged to Ethereum and then actually being maybe the only permissionless, assuming they can actually get it to be stable, right? We don't know. This is all an experiment. Even if there's an intent, I haven't seen anyone do it yet, right? So let's see. But the point is that, yeah, the point is that's how I'm getting exposure. Other people now, I've experimented with Pendle, and so I have a little bit of stable coins, like making passive income. But like for people that have a lot of stable coins, that's good. But for me, where most, especially at this point in the bull cycle, like, I don't know, in maybe 6 months, I'll have a lot more stable coins, right? Because I'm going to be taking profits in alt season on the way up, right? So I'm going to have more stable coins then, and I'll figure out what to do with them. But right now, I'm getting exposure to them through the speculative assets, through ORX, which is directly related to USDX, and a scaling economy on Ouroboros, right, which is totally fueled by like the exponential growth in the stablecoin market. Totally. There's going to be huge hunger for what Ouroboros has to offer for small, mid cap, and eventually large cap coins to basically get stablecoin as service. It's going to be huge, right? Yeah, and pDAI is just fun, man. I mean, right now it's just fun, and I like being paired with it. Right now, pDAI Eros is a hot pair. pDAI Bear is a hot pair. Like my best Eros pairs are paired with the the Pulse chain tokens that are now front running the bull run. Bear, pDAI. It's the Atropa ecosystem right now, which is with pDAI front running the 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 bull cycle. Now that wasn't my idea, but I followed someone in our Eros crew. I followed someone into that thinking. I got persuaded once again that pDAI and Bear and Atropa and Treasury Bill and Fed and some of the Atropa ecosystem is a good speculative play for our Eros, right? And also other institutional players because of the FUD and because of the drama around Atropa and the Atropa Dev and pDAI, and there was a lot of drama, and so people pulled their support. A lot of influencers and protocols pulled their support. Like it's part of the reason why it dumps so hard, right? When like protocols like PTGC and their UFO LP manager pulled the LPs because they didn't want to be associated, and that's understandable. And then there were influencers that said, "Hey, this is not, we don't like this. It's a scam." Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, well that really helped to bottom it out, right? And so yeah, so I really like the speculative play between Eros, which is index of Titan X, paired with some Atropa coins. I really like that a lot, especially Bear and pDAI, mostly because those are LP pairs that existed, and also I felt comfortable because going into LP, I only want to do LP with two coins, especially in V2 where you put two in 50-50 value, two that I'm not worried about impermanent loss, that I'm in the LP for the long term, right? And whenever I dollar cost average out of the LP, I'll be fine with whatever the token distribution is between the two coins, because it's really about the shared dollar value as opposed to, because both coins I like. So in that case, it's pDAI and Eros, right? Or Bear and Eros. Or I also like the pairs that I like on the Titan X side are like my Eros and Lotus and my Eros and Eden, just because I understand the token distribution on and the scarce cap supply, and I understand the user owner group enough to know that these are diamond hand holder coins. All right, enough said on the stablecoin super cycle. pDAI 250x to reach USDX. Yeah. Yeah, so USDX is the safest play in crypto, I believe. It's the safest early stage stablecoin yield generating machine for sure. Like even buying USDX with USDC and then staking it in the Ouroboros backstop pool, which provides backstop for the liquidation part of the lending protocol, right? And so if I have USDX, I can stake it in the backstop pool, and I'm farming vesting ORX, which again is my way to get exposure to the stablecoin supercycle. And it's also my way to extend the bull run. However long the Bitcoin and Ethereum bull run goes, I'm positioned in assets that are going to do well at, beyond this bull cycle, because they're assets like Ouroboros, right, that have a stable component to it. And also, it's going to be a product that's going to be used even in the bear market. Both the yield platform will be used, even though it'll be thinned out in terms of value and usership maybe. The borrowing and lending with the collateral assets will be used. There will be liquidations happening. And those of us who are invested in the protocol will do very well as the protocol does its job. And between the fees and Ouroboros functioning in bearish times and bullish times, in addition to that, there's the 4 trillion Titan-X that's part of that, that's waiting to buy and burn Ouroboros to make it crazy hyper deflationary, right? So yeah, and so what that leads to is overperforming in the bear cycle. And I'm positioned in things that I believe will overperform, including Titan-X. I think Titan-X will overperform, even though it hasn't overperformed in this bull cycle, it's underperformed. Like a lot of altcoins, like a lot of first generation altcoins, right? It's underperformed. But it also, assuming the buy and burn is utilized and isn't just kept as a backstop, I think it'll probably be utilized later in the cycle to ease the landing from, blow off tops, euphoric highs to, I think it'll be used like Binance treated the BNB coin, where Binance was the buyer of their own coin. And BNB overperformed the last bear cycle. That's how I think protocols that have buy and burns and will be using it intentionally will outperform in the bear cycle. Yeah, and so I'm definitely setting up my positions, both yes, to take profits in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, however long bullish sentiment continues. Because even though everyone thinks this is a bear market, it's not. We're in a, Bitcoin is close to all-time highs. It's going to get into price discovery. It may pull back, or it's going to go into price discovery again. Ethereum will find its legs and make its exponential run. The alts will follow, and certain projects like Pulse Chain, pDAI, Ouroboros, Eros, all the things that I'm in are going to front run the bull run, because these are all projects where people, right, are believers. Ouroboros, there are believers, right, who are big holders and big believers. Same thing with Eros. Same thing with pDAI. Now, pDAI is more volatile, right? pDAI, the macroeconomics and all the everything contributes to make it a speculative, you know, mess. So anyway, yeah. All right. Peace out, y'all. I'm gonna go carve and do some other work.